Hello, Tide fans. Welcome to Tide Talk. I'm your host, Sean Taylor, here with my buddy Jimmy in the studio. Got our regular Maurice down there in Margaritaville, Panama City Beach, Florida. How's the weather down there, Mo?
Let's speed this up. I got to get to the beach. So
That nice, huh?
a little overcast today, but it's still at the beach.
Yep. Yep.
You're still at the beach.
So, Maurice, kind of awkward situation for us, a little bit different than what we've been used to in the past. You know, we're normally talking about playoffs and, you know, where we're going to be and who we're going to play and that sort of thing. This is a little different, but the big game still remains. We play Auburn on Saturday. Come out as a 24-point favorite, I think.
I've seen it anywhere from 21 to 27.
Way more than it needs to
way
be.
more than it needs to be.
Agreed. Which we'll
we
talk about, I'm sure.
I think we were all pretty accurate on the fact, well, except for Jimmy. Jimmy said we'd score 50 against Austin Peay, but I was not so confident, and we did not.
Right. I think it revealed a lot more problems, or the continuing.
Let's talk a little bit about that, and then we'll get into the big game, the elephant in the room, no pun intended. Let's talk a little bit about Austin Peay. What was your thoughts, Maurice? Just give us your summary of the game.
I thought it was uninspired, walk through it football.
That's a good description. Uninspired.
Yeah, and I think that our running attack looked better. I think it also revealed what we have kind of been chatting about. I don't think Bryce Young is 100% by any means. Just some of his throws and the velocity on it. So I left that game with nothing new too much, except for this team is unmotivated.
Okay. Jimmy, anything different?
I mean, honestly, I was a little embarrassed, honestly. I mean, when's the last time a Saban coach team struggled against the FCS opponent? 7-0 in the first quarter with a couple of turnovers, and I mean, the starters were still playing
Deep in the fourth.
and I'm thinking, really, we can't put this team away. We can't score kind of at will, and very just the play. You could just tell, man, everything about that day. Of course, we've been talking about this whole season, really, but yeah, I took nothing away from the game other than just this is not the Alabama football that I'm used to watching.
Yeah, I think uninspired is a good way to describe it, Maurice. I like that. I was a little disappointed. I ended up watching the game on the app and just not, kind of what we expected. We thought we'd get some guys in early, and that didn't happen. The fact that they were in the red zone on us early and often, they ended up making some poor choices, but the game technically could have been 7-6 at the end of the first quarter, and they were moving points. They were moving the football, which again is a little disappointing. Just I don't know. Again, uninspired is a good way to sum it up. Just the dominating attitude. We do not have that anymore. We do not have a dominate. We're going to dominate you and have that attitude about it. And so things that we've said all year long, hopefully for us as spoiled Alabama fans, hopefully that'll be fixed. Like to see some things change, both offensively and defensively. Was just lackluster is the best way for me to say it.
And here's the thing too, and it's not just us talking about it either. I mean,
everybody's talking about
the stuff I was seeing y'all about all the ex-players coming out. Scarborough's going there and talking to the team. I mean, I follow several guys on social media. I'm a big social media guy, and I'm telling you, ex-players are not happy. Players that played under Saban that kind of built this program and established, who we are as a football program. Man, they're not happy, and they're all saying, "Man, something's got to change. Something's got to happen."
Maurice, what did you hear the Bo Scarborough kind of social media? What were your thoughts on that? What do you think is the significance of the yellow mouthpieces hanging out of their, not even wearing them and that sort of thing. What do you think is the significance of that?
To me, and I'm somewhat psychological. It's an attention grabber. It's a bright color, and you got it hanging out of your mouth, you're on your face mask, and you never put it in. So it's just a way to get noticed. And whenever I see players that want to be just noticed, they want them. There's not a focus on team. There's a reason. A reason. It's called a uniform. Everybody's in unison, and it could be. You could think that I'm overthinking it or over dramatizing, but I really do believe that there's some aspect of it that says, "Hey, look at me." I love what Scarborough said. I love what Greg McElroy said, and I'm sorry it hurts or breaks Saban's heart, but it needs to be said. It needs to be addressed. And what I take it from what Scarborough said is, you guys aren't putting in what we put in to build this. I mean, we went into it and we busted it during the off season, and then during the hot summer camps, and even during the season. Remember when we lost to Johnny football in Tuscaloosa? The rumor was the first practice after that game that Saban had to call it off because it was getting too physical in our practice because the players were so angry. You don't have that now. And I know it was a far reach stretch, but there was a way, even with 2 losses, if everything would have fallen out this past Saturday and going all the way to championship weekend, that Alabama could have maybe finagled their way. It was a long shot. But the point I'm making is the fact that you still had something to play for, even if it was just the pride of the color of the jersey. You still had something to play for, and you didn't seem to be that interested.
Do you think that Saban's upset about the comments from former players? Because ultimately, I mean, can we all agree that ultimately, I mean, that's on him. I mean, he's got to see the guy's face mask, with a yellow and green mouthpiece hanging out of his mouth. And I mean, he's got to recognize that. I mean, but nothing's been done about it. Right. I mean, do you think that that's part of why he's maybe disappointed in some of the guys, former players, making those comments? Because he hasn't done anything about it?
I think he takes it personally because this is what I've built this year. And now my former players coming in and kind of taking a shot at it. Sorry, coach. It's the truth.
Yeah. How did we get to this point, Mo? I mean, what happened? I mean, I think it started a little bit last year, even though we made a run to the national championship and just a couple of plays away from winning this stinking thing. We still saw glimpses last year of, I mean, this team just don't seem, something just don't seem right about this team. And now it's falling over into this season. And here we are talking about maybe getting a good chance to go play in the Cotton Bowl against some, whoever.
Yeah.
I had a concern last year. I went to the Tennessee game, and it was homecoming, and I really thought at halftime, I said, we're going to lose this dadgum game to Tennessee for homecoming. And it was a close game all the way up until, midway through the fourth. And what bothered me was how the players were reacting on the sideline and some photo ops. It's just my turn. This is my moment. I'm the star. This is what the college football world is looking at, is people like me. I got too much of that. And even after the A&M game, when we won on the last play, players running off the field acting like they did something great. You just beat the 100, at the time, 23rd rated offense that couldn't score in a brothel with $100 bill in their pocket. So I hate to be that ugly, but it's the truth. That's how I'm still irate. They're not working towards anything. It's just, it's my turn. It's me. I'm the star now. No, bro, you need to look over to Athens.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll circle the wagon and come back and talk about that. We'll take a short break, and then we'll discuss a little bit more, because I have some concerns about that as well. But Tide fans, hold your seats. We'll be right back with Tide Talk.
I know Beam. I used to watch cartoons and sports on their TV, and now I use their internet.
Take it from Javion Cohen, all SEC team offensive lineman.
Beam. It's the choice of champions.
Like Javion said, it is the internet choice of champions. Beam, bringing East Alabama more.
What is community? Is it a neighborhood? The businesses and homes inside it? Maybe community isn't just a place. Maybe it's a state of mind that when we care together, cheer together, we're closer to what really counts. At Beam, we're finding new ways to bring us all closer. And you'll find us right out there with you, because community is always on our mind. Beam, bringing East Alabama more.
All right, welcome back, Tide fans. Jimmy, Maurice made some, extremely valid points. You asked the question, how did we get here? And it leads to what we've been saying all year. And I don't put all the blame on Saban, but at the end of the day, he's the head coach. Well, and we've been talking about coordinators all year and the lack of performance on both sides of the ball. But at the end of the day, Nick Saban, he even said, I can veto any play call. I hear both on offense and defense.
See, that's what's concerning about this year is because at every press conference, Saban, he's always saying the right stuff. He's always saying what we want to hear, but then we never see that translate onto the field because this is the same old undisciplined, uninspired football team that shows up every Saturday and you get Saban back there at the podium. Yeah, well, and we got to do this, and it's on me, and I'm gonna change. We got to do this. We got to and every week we talk about it. Okay, this is gonna be the week, man. I feel like we're gonna. Man, Saban's got them going, and we show up and like, no, nothing's changed, and here we are, 10 games deep into the season, and nothing's changed. And yeah, dare we say it's I think a lot of it's on Saban. Honestly,
yeah, he's got to take some responsibility. He's got to take some ownership.
But and the crazy thing too is, man, I've been excited about some of the hires he's made in the last 2 or 3 years on his staff. But I think obviously there's 2 of them that we don't agree with for sure. And so it's, like I say, something's got to change.
Yeah.
He's got to change, and then some changes got to happen within that staff.
Well, everything has an expiration date.
And Maurice, we said it a week or so ago, and probably multiple times. I know we have. The biggest concern for me is the fact that we have the top-rated recruiting class every year.
Right.
And this is what we see. And I think, Jimmy, you may have even hit the nail on the head. Will Anderson, Henry Ta'oa, these guys that are supposed to be these studs, they're not even in the consideration for these awards.
End of season awards.
These end of season awards. And that's an issue. That's a concern for me. Nobody is discussing Alabama players. Yes, they're talking about the magician that Bryce Young is, and he's been, hindered by the cast, the supporting cast, and that sort of thing. Man, everybody goes through. Look at what Georgia lost.
Yeah,
Georgia lost 5 first-round draft picks, and they got the best defense in the country.
Yeah, they refed the program.
We've been there. We know.
Yes.
We know how that feeling is when you lose all those players and your coordinators. But same as always, just like I said, that whole reloading thing we always talk about was never an issue. We talked about this team being possibly the most talented team Saban's had on both sides of the ball, and I don't disagree with that. Again, so, and I made the comment, earlier today, I think too, about imagine if we didn't have the talent that we had. In other words, if we had the team down the road's talent, we'd maybe have 4 or 5 wins too. That's how bad I feel like
the coaching is.
Yeah, the coaching has been, and what we're doing to get ready for those games. If we didn't have those 4 and 5 star guys out there, making plays, improvising, whatever they're doing. Despite what the positions the coaches are putting them in, despite the play calls was coming out of those headsets. I mean, again, imagine how bad this team would look.
Well, I think one thing that needs to to me is obvious red flag. If you've got a transfer that can come in and start, my first thought is, all right, well, where did you go wrong in recruiting? Because if you've got the top recruits and somebody comes in from anywhere and is able to beat out and become a starter, where'd we mess up? Because these are, like you said, Sean, top of the top. These are consistently the best recruiting classes. How do you have a guy come, no disrespect, how do you have a guy come from Vanderbilt and become your starting tackle?
Yeah. Agreed.
So it's somewhere in some talent evaluation, something is being really overlooked, in my opinion.
Of course, speaking of transfers, Burton, because he finally showed up this past Saturday against the FCS.
Guy showed up against the FCS team.
Yes, but still, I mean, somebody had to show up. He did show up, made some catches and scored a couple of touchdowns, whatever. But like you said, he came in from day one and has been a starter. And it took 10th game of the season against FCS for him to finally kind of have that game that we've been waiting on, or we thought we'd get out of him. So yeah,
I don't know. There's obviously something missing. We can't put our finger on it, but there's something missing. There's something missing in the attitude. There's something missing in and man, I'm so tired of hearing about the focus and that sort of thing. I think we'll get some answers, Maurice, after the Auburn game, when guys are going to have to make a decision on whether they opt in or out of the bowl game.
I agree, and I think you'll see a lot.
Because I'm going to tell you, John Mechie, last year had an opportunity to opt out, and the Joker said, "I'm playing," and I just think that speaks volumes for, again, pride in the program, pride in the university. And it's going to be interesting to see some of these guys.
There was some press conference and there was some media stuff going out today, and our leader on offense, leader on defense were both asked that question about opting out. And of course, they said the right thing.
Right, that's right.
Well, we're not worried about that right now. We're just worried about the next game. Those kind of answers tells me that we're gonna have a lot of guys not playing in that bowl game, wherever it might be.
Yeah, I was about to say you're going to see a lot of Iron Bowl is going to be the last game for a few players that we're used to seeing, in my opinion.
Yeah, and listen, heck, for the future that may be a good thing.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. I want people to play that want to play, that
want to be there. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, it's an honor to put on the crimson jersey, and anybody that says, well, I'm really not into it, brother, doesn't seem like you've been into it for a while. So, no hard feelings. Don't go away mad, just go away. And if you're, I get the fact that you want to protect what is the greatest job, starting salary that in the world. I get that. However, this past weekend, I should have seen something. If you don't want to give 100% because we're, in your mind, eliminated, then don't step onto the field.
Right.
Give it to somebody else that is chomping at the bit to get on the field.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm kind of like Jimmy. I'm just kind of irritated and dumbfounded by the effort that I saw Saturday.
Yeah.
So.
Well, as I said, there'll be. I think we'll get some answers over the next few weeks. At least we hope so. Anyway, I'm looking to see if some heads roll, if some changes are made from a coordinator's perspective, from a coaching perspective. I don't know that you can change a whole lot from what you do from a personnel perspective, because you're bringing in the top recruiting class every year, and you have the talented players. Now, unless they see some writing on the wall and we start losing some of these guys, I don't know. Drew Sanders left, and he's in the running for the Butkus Award. Maybe he knew more than we do, but Anyway, should be interesting next few weeks for sure for the Alabama program. Maurice, we're going to take a short break. Hold your seats, Tide fans. We'll be right back with Tide Talk.
Beam is delivering gig speed internet to 100% of our network. But should you get a gig? Well, if you want to download an album in a blink, video conference in 4K, make virtual reality more real, power all of your home smart devices at the same time, and still have bandwidth to stream everything without buffering, then yeah, you gotta get a gig. So call, click, or visit and get it. Because when you gotta get a gig, you gotta go with Beam. Bringing East Alabama more.
I know Beam. I used to watch cartoons and sports on their TV, and now I use their internet.
Take it from Javion Cohen, all SEC team offensive lineman.
Beam. It's the choice of champions.
Like Javion said, it is the internet choice of champions. Beam, bringing East Alabama more.
All right, welcome back, guys. So Auburn coming up. Listen, if you look at statistically, if you look at black and white, if you look at the numbers, we are supposed to have the advantage in just about every facet of the game. There was a breakdown I read earlier today. Quarterback, we got the advantage. O-line, it says we have the advantage. D-line, it says we're even. Running backs says they have the advantage. Of course, that was dependent on how Jahmyr Gibbs was and that sort of thing. But
The one thing that we don't have them beating at right now is emotion.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, listen, that's a scary thing.
Because I guarantee you, that's the reason why this game is going to be close, because Auburn's playing with a ton of emotion. You got to hand it to Cadillac Williams for what he's doing. I mean, he's just a glorified cheerleader, if you ask me. That's been kind of thrown into a position, but man, give him a lot of credit because he's got them guys playing way over their head, if you ask me. Emotionally, man, they are tuned in, and we're not, and that's all it takes for an upset to happen or for a game to be closer than it's supposed to be.
Well, we know the game's going to be close just because that's how these games are. It is a little concerning because they have nothing to lose. Absolutely. They're not expected to win 21, 24, 27-point underdog. I mean, Maurice, yeah, go ahead.
They have one thing, motivation, which is if they win the Iron Bowl, they're bowl eligible.
Yeah,
so,
they go to a bowl game.
So they got a little bit more going on their side, and it's really 21-point underdog. They're expected to lose.
Yeah.
So
look, it was the same way last year, and we were 38 seconds or a minute away from losing to them last year. Now, granted, it was in Auburn, which again, crazy things happens in that place, and we are at home, but still, I mean, we were a heavy favorite last year. We were playing for a ton. They were still playing for nothing, and they really probably should have beat us last year. What makes you think they're not going to give us all we can handle Saturday?
Pull out all the stops.
Possibly, but both coordinators from that team have moved on to greener pastures. But it's going to be interesting.
Well, listen, this reminds me, I know you guys remember, when we go undefeated, we play Auburn, I think it was 2009, in the SEC championship game. We lose, turn around and play Utah, if I'm not mistaken, in a bowl game and get absolutely embarrassed. If I'm not mistaken, 38-7. And this team kind of reminds me of that team, that approach, the lackluster attitude, nonchalant. We have nothing to play for, and that is a product of the environment playing at Alabama, because every year you're expected to win a national championship or at least play for it.
Yeah, you're expected to be at least one of the 4 best teams in the country.
Yes,
and unfortunately, we all know that ain't the case this year.
Yeah.
Now, the potential is there. What irritates me is we've seen that only twice this year. That was against Arkansas for about 2.5 quarters and against Ole Miss for 2 quarters.
Yeah, agreed.
There's no reason why you can't do that every single quarter. So, that's between your ears.
Yeah, that's what we're used to. That's what's so frustrating, is because we're used to seeing that level. The 2 quarters of Ole Miss, the 2.5 quarters of Arkansas, the 2 quarters of Tennessee in the second half. Listen, we played pretty well. We were down 28-10. I mean, we come back and take the lead. So yes, that the potential is there. I go back to, man, where is the attitude from this Alabama team? I'll tell you this, if they don't come out with attitude on Saturday, we're going to get beat at home against Auburn if we don't come out with a different approach.
And you can say too all you want about this whole rivalry thing. It just means more, and I'm wondering too, because we recruit so many kids out of this area that they see it, they read about it, maybe they see old clips or whatever, but they don't really know what that rivalry means, in my opinion, not deep down. And I'm not so sure, from an emotional standpoint, what it really means to them to play in this rivalry. I saw something. Dabo Swinney was asked a question about, rivalries, and I can't remember exactly how it was asked, and he said, because the question was posed about, again, something about rivalry games and weekends and stuff. He said because I grew up in Alabama. And he asked the reporter of the guy asking the question, he said, "Where'd you grow up at?" And the guy said, "New York." And that was, yeah, well, that's it. That's why you don't understand rivalries. But again, so that brings me back to what I was trying to make is, a lot of these kids don't grow up in Alabama. They're outside of this area they see. And so they don't really know what it feels like, really, truly, what this rivalry feels like. So from an emotional standpoint, maybe in the years past, they could get up and play on emotion based on the rivalry, being a rivalry game. Now, again, I'm so sure.
Maurice,
Yes.
You got to take on that.
Oh, I agree. I mean, to me, this has always been the greatest rivalry, and I would say all of sports. Even this year, as you head into it, it doesn't seem it's not getting a national attention, of course, because Auburn has right now a losing record, and we're disappointing. Michigan and Ohio State, the other one that's supposed to be the great rivalry, they're both undefeated. However, this is still one of the greatest rivalries because it gives absolute bragging rights, and it goes down in history as remember the year that we beat y'all and this happened and that. So, what bothers me is the fact that the players aren't focused. They don't, I hate to say it, they won't really care, but I think they care enough to be playing at home, and it is senior day.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that there is some focus and that there is some things being said back and forth. The players know each other to a certain extent. So I'm hoping that there's some trash talk, and, even though it's not publicized, but,
We can always hope that they show up with a little bit of emotion Saturday.
Maurice,
right.
Can this team win just on talent?
Yeah, absolutely. But whether or not, that's great that you have the talent. You've got to use it. You've got to put an effort into it. If you're Usain Bolt and you just go 75%, you're not going to be the fastest. You could be the fastest, but you're not. And that's what bothers me. And I've seen a few times, and even Saban has talked about effort on the field.
Yeah.
That you see players walking. Say, look at the wide receivers. Go out there and sit instead of working to a spot, working back to the quarterback. And it doesn't. It has to be every play. And you say, "Well, I did it for most of the time." Most of the time, okay. So it has to be every play, every down, and that's what you're missing from this team.
Yeah. So we need to make some predictions. We open as I think the last one I looked at was 21 points. We open as a 3-touchdown favorite. Jimmy, what's your thought?
Well, I say it every week, or we talk about it almost every week. If this team can put together a complete game, and I'm talking about starting with the coaching staff, getting us prepared, making whatever adjustments we need to make, down to the players executing and playing to their best ability, it wouldn't and shouldn't be close. But we haven't seen that all year. I think we're in for a dogfight. I mean, I think it's going to be close. Yeah, talent wise, again, they shouldn't be on the same field with us, but somehow they're going to find a way to make it close. I just feel it. And I think it's going to be, you know, I don't know, like a 20-something to 20 game. I don't know. I mean, it's crazy for me to even say that, but I think it's going to be something like that. Maybe a 30 to 20 game.
Maurice?
A couple of predictions. Predict that you'll see quite a few players in the portal Sunday morning. I predict that Lane Kiffin will be named Auburn head coach sometime Sunday. And I predict that we'll win 31-17. I'll say we'll control the game. Won't ever really feel like we're doing what we should be as far as blowing them out. It'll be something like 31-17.
I think we'll win the game. Fortunately, we're playing in Tuscaloosa. Thank goodness we're playing in Tuscaloosa. I would not have the same confidence if we were playing in Auburn. I think the game will be close. I think it'll be a dogfight. 28-17, something like that. I don't foresee us, unless the team that we've been looking for all year decides to show up, unless the coaching staff decides to show up and do, you know, what we've expected. I'm looking 28-17, something like that. We'll find out. 3:30 kickoff should be a nice day. It is senior day, so maybe there is something a little external for them to play for, you know, to send the seniors out on a good note. But yes, right. Maurice, I think the next few days after the game is going to be interesting for the Alabama football program
and the staff.
We'll be talking during the game, I'm sure. But Tide fans, next week we'll discuss the Alabama-Auburn Iron Bowl game right here on Channel 207, and hopefully we'll be discussing an Alabama win. So roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.